Okay, welcome. Today, today's episode is going to be a big one. We're diving into the political earthquake no one saw coming and the economic aftershocks that everyone's starting to feel. And I tell you what, this thing with Elon and Trump, it's entertaining sitting back. Anyways, I just really wanted to jump on here and talk about it. This is the story of how Elon Musk and the richest man in the world, the innovator behind Tesla, SpaceX, and X, went from President Trump's inside man, I mean, his main man, I mean, his son running around, to his most vocal critic. I mean, you could see this coming. But, anyways, and, their public fallout over Trump's legislation, what's known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. Uh, it's one of those things where it's it's just disaster. It's triggered a market tremor, a policy reckoning, and just maybe the start of a new political era. I don't know. I got a lot of things in here that I'm breaking down, but because here's the question we'll ask throughout this breakdown. Is this real or is it smoke and mirrors? Are we watching a genuine split between two titans, or a very public performance designed to distract, distort, and reframe power? So buckle up. This isn't just a feud. It's a fight for the soul of modern conservatism, or maybe just a shift in the script. Um, so, anyways, just a few months ago, Elon Musk and Donald Trump seemed to be a team. I mean, they were seen everywhere together. Uh, Musk, a long symbol of innovation, had aligned with Trump's deregulation and America First policies. Trump tapped him to head DOGE. I mean, it was almost like a love story. The Department of Government Efficiency. Musk took on the role with zeal, reportedly finding hundreds of billions in waste. But as the cameras rolled and headlines praised this alliance, we ask ourselves, compared to what? Was Musk truly a disruptive reformer, or was he another power broker trying to reshape policy to match his vision? Well, history reminds us political feuds are often theater, and the seeds of division may have been planted from the start. Anyways, the one big beautiful bill was supposed to be the Trump administration's masterstroke. They're talking tax cuts, pro business reforms, budget savings. But when everything landed, Musk was livid. I mean, he was pissed. EV credits gone, solar slash, wasteful programs untouched, deficit projections exploding. You know, Elon called it a disgusting abomination. So, what exactly is in the bill that made Musk and many others, so upset? Let's break that down and see what it really, pissed them off about. Well, the first thing it does is it raises the debt ceiling by 5 trillion. Um, Trump's even talked about even eliminating that debt ceiling. With the White House claiming it will reduce the deficit by 1.4 trillion over 10 years. Yet the Congressional Budget Office projects it may actually add 2.4 trillion. So that's a 3.8 trillion spread between the two of them. One says it might add 2.4, one says save 1.4. Someone's not in alignment. It eliminates federal tax credits for electric vehicles entirely. Now, that is a crucial financial incentive for Tesla buyers, at a time when competition from China and other different automakers, it's kind of heating up. It cuts subsidies for solar power and other renewables while keeping and even expanding tax breaks for fossil fuels. That kind of goes to Trump's drill baby drill thing. So it also includes no binding implementation of DOGE recommendations. So, like in the bill, there's really nothing about DOGE recommended. So the question is, do you even want to see the DOGE report? Musk's own task force findings on government waste, fraud, and abuse were completely omitted. I mean, they just weren't included at all. It includes ambitious economic growth projections without basically credible enforcement mechanisms. It raises a lot of concerns about fiscal responsibility. It significantly boosts defense spending with little detail on offsets. So this wasn't just a political snub for Musk. This bill undermined everything he had invested in publicly. Innovation, efficiency, market disruption. Instead, it preserved entrenched interest and sent a clear message. The swamp is not being drained. But here's the thing. Did Musk really expect different, or did he seize a moment, a pivot point to break ranks and build something new from this? Now, I'm not indicating, I'm just asking these questions. Was the bill flawed? Absolutely. But it may, was it a trigger rather than a surprise? A Was this scripted to signal a shift in loyalty and message? And again, compared to what? How much of Musk outrage was policy based and how much was strategic distancing? Now, at some point in time, these two powerhouses were going to distance themselves. The fireworks began on X. I mean, when you own your own platform, you can say whatever you want. Trump posted on Truth Social, lashing out at Musk, calling him ungrateful and accusing him of self-interest. I mean, which that's typically what he does, anyways. But Musk didn't just clap back. I mean, he detonated. I mean, he just really fired back. In one viral post, Musk said, "Time to drop the really big bomb." Um, at the real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. I mean, that raised a lot of questions. I know when I heard it, it kind of sparked me a little bit like, whoa, what? Yeah, I mean, that hit like a political earthquake. Millions of impressions, cable news lit up. But more than that, it asked a dangerous question. One the public has been whispering for years. Where are the Epstein files? I mean, we were promised them, everything else, but where are they? Why haven't they been? It's kind of like poof, they're gone. Um, why have they not been fully released? And why do so many powerful people from both sides of the aisle seem united in their silence? It's got to rain out something. This accusation wasn't just about Trump. It was about the power behind the power. There's a leverage that's not debated in Congress, but whispered in boardrooms. Is Musk trying to force the files into the open, or is he playing a card to get ahead of a deeper narrative? Here's a chilling thought. What if this is the real reason the files haven't been made public? Not national security, not legal red tape, but political blackmail. The ultimate control tool, the deep state's insurance policy, you might say. If that's true, then we're not just watching a billionaire feud. We're witnessing a power struggle with stakes far beyond policy and profit. This is a battle to control the truth itself. So again, you have to ask yourself, is this feud real, or is it a part of something bigger? Is this a performance, or is this Musk blowing the whistle on a system that punishes dissent? When Musk made the Epstein accusation, he crossed a line, one few in power ever do. And whether he knew it or not, that move may have revealed more than any bill, budget, or bureaucrat ever could. Because, here's the, because, let me break that down. Because where there's smoke, there just might be a raging fire. And it certainly struck chords. Well, one thing about it, markets don't lie, but they do react to headlines. And this feud, it moved the markets hard. Uh, Tesla stock tumbled nearly 14% within 48 hours of Musk online broadside, against the administration. That was $150 billion in market value erased, just evaporated, gone. Bond markets, tech ETF slids, fossil fuel stocks got a surprise bump. But the savvy investor should ask, was this drop just panic or is it a window of opportunity? So let's break that down and look at it from this angle. So from a technical perspective, Tesla entered a descending triangle pattern earlier this quarter. And that's a bearish formation, typically signaling a breakout to the downside. The feud confirmed that direction, driving the price beneath critical support at 180. Now, traders are watching closely. Will it bounce at 160 or continue its fall towards the 135 range? But longer term, this might actually make Tesla more attractive. If Musk distances himself from politics or plays the victim of political retaliation, he could generate renewed public support. I mean, his support in Tesla and himself, I mean, you never saw so many people so excited to own a Tesla, to actually making a move to where they're they're vandalizing them in public. At one time, Elon was loved among the green movement and the conservative party, and it was proud to drive him. And then they turn on him because of his alliance with DOGE and trying to do something else. So if a man can figure out how to land a rocket on a barge in the ocean that's moving and is coming from space, I think Elon is smart enough to figure this out. So, investors who believe this is all smoke and mirrors may see Tesla as undervalued. Now, let's talk hedge funds and billionaires. Someone like Paul Tudor Jones, maybe he looks at it as a volatility play. He might go long, the VIX or short the NASDAQ and wait for another catalyst to rebound tech. Somebody like Druckenmiller, he might trim Tesla short term, but keep a long term allocation in AI, robotics, battery tech, all the sectors that Tesla touches. But here's the real question: can the president actually exclude Musk from contrast? Now, technically, the executive branch can influence federal contract distribution, but outright exclusion from competitive bidding, that would be a legal challenge, I would think, and investor backlash. So while the threat is real, the likelihood is complex. Musk may lose favor, but total exclusion, I find that really unlikely. The other question I have is the Tesla in which Musk gave Trump back in their love affair, or when everything was going well. It's like, I wonder if the Don's going to keep that, or if he's going to send it up on eBay or marketplace, or what's he going to do with it. More importantly, SpaceX. It's still the only U.S. company with a viable human-rated spacecraft. Yeah, NASA doesn't have it. That leverage is priceless. So, yes, there's chaos, but also opportunity. You got to look beyond the headlines. Watch the charts, read the filings, because when titans clash, there's always someone making money in the rubble. I mean, always. So, well, Musk did hint at a new party, one that represents the 80% in the middle. That kind of sounds revolutionary, but is he serious? Privately, insiders say he's exploring infrastructure, tech platforms, fundraising mechanisms, even candidate pipelines. Publicly, his tone wavers between satire and sincerity, but the mere suggestion has rattled political power centers. I mean, this could change a lot of things. The Republican establishment sees this as a threat to party unity. I mean, you looked at Trump's dream team that he had gotten together with Tulsi Gabbard and RFK and Elon, just his whole cast behind him. It was like, man, they're going to get something done. But is politics really that easy to change? And one of the questions I keep asking myself is, I don't think so. So behind closed doors, strategists fear, basically a pro 2.0. And Trump has been out on the campaign trail because of these midterms coming up. If he loses the House and Senate, and you know, boy, anything he wanted to do is just disastrous for him. So this does have an effect. So Ross Perot, I remember when he split the conservative base, and he gave Democrats a clear path. And but anyways, meanwhile, Democrats, they're licking their chops, and they're kind of watching and they're worrying. Part of it's great because they see this implosion on the Republican side. A must-back centrist platform that could siphon away independents from them and younger voters that don't like either party, which is a possibility. So far, official statements have been minimal, but political operatives from both camps, I mean, they are coordinating opposition research. I can guarantee you that, not just on Musk, but on his potential surrogates. And that's where the conversation turns even darker, because when power is threatened, history teaches us it fights back. I've always said that history doesn't necessarily uh, repeat itself, but it does rhyme. So you look at JFK, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, all men who dared to reshape the American system. I mean, they paid a terrible price for it. Musk, an outsider with immense influence, a massive platform, ambitions that challenge the status quo. You got to worry about the guy a little bit. I mean, there could be similar risk out there for him. He's not bulletproof, not legally, not politically, certainly not physically. The more he challenges entrenched interests, the more vulnerable he becomes. And here's a deeper question. Is a deep state real? And are they reasserting control? They kind of lost a little bit of control. They lost a lot of control when everything took place after the inauguration. Um, the intelligence community, entrenched bureaucracies, and shadowy alliances between governments and industry. They never went away. They simply, are they just simply adapting? And now they may be flexing their muscles again, reminding any would-be reformer that they still hold the playbook. So we must ask, are we watching a political realignment unfold in real time? Or are we seeing a script designed to maintain the illusion of choice while keeping, the levers of power exactly where they've always been? Musk's potential third party movement could be the most disruptive force in modern US politics, or the most dangerous game of chicken ever played, with the American electorate. And when billionaires start asking questions that get people, expired in history books, it's not just politics anymore. It's power, it's survival, and legacy. So who's really pulling the strings here? We may not have that answer yet, but the fact that we're even asking it shows how far this story has come and how much further it might go. So, for smart money, this drama is data. Traders look at it as volatility. There may be some asymmetric trades in here. Some short Tesla, others go long oil, but those looking deeper ask, what's the long game? What's really happening in the long run? If Musk companies lose contracts, he'll pivot. He'll figure it out. I mean, the man, he figured out how to, like, again, the land a rocket. If they gain new support, he'll claim victory. The man has weathered worse storms than this, but now he's rebranding, and every investor needs to ask, is this play political theater or the real deal? Who's playing chess and who's just playing checkers? Um, Here's where it gets uncomfortable. While Musk and Trump duke it out online, America faces unsustainable debt, a shrinking middle class, and just all kinds of problems. Are we watching a revolution, or is this a staged feud? Is this crafted to distract from bigger systemic decay? Who benefits from this distraction? Media companies, political strategists, and yes, billionaires on both sides. And what about us, the voters, the taxpayers, the families just trying to stay afloat? Are we being entertained while Rome burns? Compared to what must be our lens? Compared to real reform? Most of this is noise compared to true leadership. Most of this is ego. So, what happens now? Well, reports say a private call is being arranged. Maybe they patch it up. It appears, though, that there is softening on both sides. Maybe they double down. Maybe they already did. But this much is clear. The Musk Trump split, real or not, is a mirror. It shows us the stagecraft of modern politics. It forces us to ask who really has our back. Musk talks about innovation. Trump talks about greatness. But who's fighting for everyday Americans? That's the question. Who is fighting for them, for us? Compared to what? Indeed. Again, let's have some comments about this. Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching. If you found anything in today's breakdown, hit that like button, share this with somebody. Please subscribe. We need to understand what's happening beneath these headlines. And don't forget that it takes every one of us to make a change. So I'm Kevin. This is Kevin Navigates. I'll catch you on the next one.